All right, on this channel, we review a lot of wireless earbuds, and when you're looking at price ranges, we have some super premium ones like the Bose and the Sennheiser, which are north of 250 euros or dollars.
Yep, and we got a couple here. Jabra, Samsung, some of the older AirPods, between 100 and 200 euros.
Yeah. And so when somebody comes along for $50 claiming that they check all the boxes that the big boys do,
yep, we had to test them on the channel, of course.
let's have a real conversation about the EarFun Free Pro.
Goedendag, we're DHRME.
Dancing hungry Romans meet English.
All right, we're gonna have a little bit of fun with this reviews, and we're gonna just take you through our experience all the way from unboxing it to the noise cancelling, phone calls, etc., like we normally do on this channel. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you are. So yeah, taking out of the box, let's start with the build, I guess. The case is pretty damn compact, right? I would compare it to the AirPods Pro. Yeah, if you compare it to that one, you'll see how tiny it actually is, because that's the Bose QC earbuds. Yeah, it's plastic, it's light, Type-C charging on the back.
Yeah, very satisfying click when you close it.
Oh yeah. Also an LED light, which is handy for battery life indication.
USB Type-C, and it has wireless charging, which is something you only hear about in premium earbuds.
Oh, and did we talk about the price?
We didn't talk about the price.
Yeah, that's going to come up a lot in the channel because that's something you need to keep in mind when you're talking about $50 earbuds or 50, 60, whenever you end up buying this, there might be an offer going on. So make sure to check the link in the description below for that. What else can we say about the build of these earbuds?
They are not waterproof. The case itself is not waterproof, but the earbuds are.
And what are they? They are? What is that? That was this.
Wow, that's weird. So yeah, these are IPX5, more water resistant than the AirPods Pro or the Jabra Elite 85T.
Yeah.
But again, water resistance. X means they're not dust resistant, so don't go off-roading with them.
Yeah. Playing beach volleyball or whatever you do in Australia now because it's winter around here. Yeah, but it should be fine for runs. And speaking of runs, I think these could actually be pretty nice for runs. They're very light in your ear. They come with these ear fins, which are shaped very differently than the Bose. Normally the earphones are like wing tips, it's got that hook system. Whereas this, it just has this, I don't know, what do you call this? Like
a line?
Whatever. A curve, a line, yeah. Whatever it is, but it hooks in quite nicely into your ear, which is very comfortable.
Very comfortable, and I can attest to this because I've tested this, for a longer session as well. I've ordered for at least 8 hours, I think, 7.5 hours. And that's also how long the battery lasts with noise cancelling on. So that's very impressive.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best battery lives that we have tested on this channel.
Yeah.
And this one actually measures up to what's on paper. They say 7 hours on paper, I got 7.5. Very impressive, very impressive.
And they're not by any means a big sized earbuds, right? We'll show you a couple of shots of side-by-sides with other earbuds, but they're quite small. Nowhere close to like, what are they? The QC earbuds.
Or the WF-1000 XM3, for example.
As well, yeah.
Let me get my box. What is that?
So stop playing around with it. It's making weird sounds. Okay. Yeah, like I said, you could go running with this because we did a little bit of testing trying to get the earbuds out of our ears. It was almost impossible. So it seems to be good.
All right, so we verified the claim of the battery life. So I did have a lot of audio playing, including music, and the music, I was really, really impressed because I tested it with a Windows laptop as well as my Android phone. Yeah, no iPhone testing, but it essentially supports AAC, not aptX. Not a big deal because wireless earbuds, but the sound signature is very interesting. I like the soundstage, very wide. I tested a lot of Massive Attack. I don't know, I'm into Massive Attack these days. So there was a lot of bass heavy stuff as well. And if you like bassy headphones, these are head-shakingly bassy. I think they're very clean sounding earphones otherwise. Of course, a bit of a V-shape and all that. They're nice sounding earphones, good soundstage. The bass is really, really good, and in really exceptional situations, I got some close to distortion sounds. So your mileage may vary. They are not audiophile earphones, but they sound really good. I'm very impressed.
And suppose you didn't like the sound signature, is there any possibility to change the EQ on these?
No. So we wrote to EarFun as well. There is no first-party EQ, but you can use third-party EQs. The EQs will be set on your device and not on your headphones. And speaking of EQ and changing stuff on the phone,
Yeah, there is no app where you would normally find the EQ controls.
I'm a bit conflicted. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's a win for privacy. You're not sending your data to some random company.
True.
You know, and you can actually do most of the things on the phone. You can raise volume, you can skip tracks, things like that.
Yeah, so it keeps it simple, right out of the box, ready to go. And talking about what you can control, even though you don't have an app, is quite a bit. It has a touch-sensitive surface, so there's no two of them, one on each bud. So you can play, pause, answer end calls, reject calls, all of that. But it also has volume controls, which is pretty interesting, because if you normally, many of the buds don't have it, and the ones that do, you need to either make a choice, right? It's either volume or it's some other setting, like noise cancelling or something like that. Here, you can do them all without having to choose. So the right earbud, if you swipe, will increase the volume and the left will decrease it. I did notice that there was a bit of a lag between you swiping and the volume actually being changed.
Yeah, can be a bit dangerous. I had an experience where, I was trying to swipe up, and it kind of registered 4 swipes, continuously, and then it went very loud, but yeah.
So pace yourself, guys, pace yourself.
Pace yourself.
You can get to the next track, but you can go to a previous one. That's unfortunately not there. And you can control noise cancelling on these buds, right?
That is absolutely right.
So you get 3 modes?
Yeah, so you triple tap on the left earbud to switch between modes. That wasn't very, very pleasant, because even though the touch is very sensitive, you don't have to really push it in.
No.
Every time you do it thrice, you do feel a bit of pressure. But you may not have to do that, because we tested the noise cancelling. So initially I thought, I'll test them with the Bose, the gold standard of noise cancelling. But once I put them in my ear, I was...
You didn't really need to pull out.
I didn't need to go that far. We tested it with Jabra Elite Active 75Ts that we have.
Yeah.
They're kind of the worst on the noise cancelling scale, maybe, except the Galaxy Beans.
But live.
They didn't do much, the noise cancelling. No. So they have an ambient mode as well.
They have ambient mode, which, you'll notice because it will pump in a little more of your surrounding sounds. But the moment you go to normal and noise cancelling, they're so similar, and there isn't that much being blocked out. So you have no other benchmark, then this might be something in it.
So that's one place where, the things that are on paper don't match up to the real experiences. So they are claiming that it is noise cancelling up to minus 28 dB. I don't know what that means. Real life tests, we didn't really find any of that.
And we simulated this with a cafe environment and also with flight cabin noise. And in both situations, we didn't really notice it being suppressed.
I must say flight cabin was a bit more noticeable than cafe.
Yeah.
But it's all marginal again.
Yeah, and we kind of used those same environments, the noisy cafe environment, and we used windy conditions to test the microphone. Because, can you make phone calls with these? We're all stuck at home. We need to be making phone calls a lot more than we used to. So what I think is that they're surprisingly good. You can actually use these for phone calls. In quiet environments, clear, volume was good, audible, right? Very, very impressive. Noisy conditions, equally so. I was very surprised that the speaker's voice was clear, no problems whatsoever, and you couldn't really hear the background noise that much. Even when you got up real close to the speakers, I could barely notice that much of a difference. Of course, the background noise increased a little bit, but I could still hear you perfectly fine.
Okay.
And windy is interesting because you can use any of these buds individually. There's no master-slave architecture, meaning that you can pick up the left bud and use it on its own, and it'll work. If you pick up the right one, it'll also work on its own. But we also tested it with the wind blowing on the right earbud, which was fine, which is very clear actually, to be honest, very clear. But when it was hitting the left one, you barely could hear anything.
But overall recommended for phone calls?
For phone calls, yes. Only thing is, again, it doesn't come with a dedicated mute button, so you'll have to get your phone to mute it. But it has volume controls, which is quite nice.
And you can hang up and answer calls and switch calls. So the basics are there.
Yeah. Fuck man out.
Okay, what else do we get with these earbuds? There's an interesting mode called low latency for gamers, where it drops the latency in the connection, so you can game better. We are not gamers, we didn't really test it like that, but we did test it with YouTube videos. On Android, I noticed a slight difference in YouTube. I thought there was a bit of a lag without low latency, but with low latency on, that lag kind of melted away.
And I tested it on an iPhone. I couldn't tell a difference. So,
fanboy. Apple fanboy.
What? I just happened to test it on an iPhone. hide the Apple Watch.
Okay, one thing I do want to mention about the comfort is I use them for, as I said, for a whole day. But after 4 to 5 hours, the material that the tips are made of, and having naturally beautiful oily skin, was kind of getting a bit greasy there where it was, in contact with my ear. So I had to remove them and wipe them clean and put them in again. And talking about using it for a whole day, for 7.5 hours, I really wanted to check the battery status, but I was connected to my laptop only, and it wasn't showing me battery percentage for whatever reason. So there is no way to check battery percentage by doing some finger gymnastics, triple tapping with the double tap or whatever. You have to check it on your phone, and it does have voice notifications.
Yeah.
So it talks about all these things you change, noise cancelling, you get good voice feedback, so you know what is happening. Even if you accidentally hit something, you can kind of understand. It's not just a beep and you're wondering what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, and speaking of voice notifications, does it tell you what device it's connected to, the name of the device?
No, not a Bose level device. It does not connect to multiple devices at the same time. In fact, you do need to disconnect from your first device to even connect to the second one, because I tried doing, connecting from device B when I was connected to device A, and it would just kind of not work. So you need to disconnect from the first one and then connect to the second one. Okay, we're going to talk about our special section, Fixability, which is how environment friendly these earphones are. We reached out to the company to ask them a few questions, and they were kind enough to reply. They mentioned that the outer packing is made from recycled materials. So that's a really nice thing. And the case is ABS plastic. I'm not a plastics expert, but probably you can tell us in the comments what that exactly means.
Abs plastic.
Abs plastic. So it's like my abs, pretty plasticky. It's also made of recycled material, the case. So that's a win, because many of the premium earphones don't do that. And talking about repairability, we also asked them if this is repairable. They said only the ear fins and the ear hooks and the ear tips are replaceable, and not the whole thing itself. In terms of after-sales service, they provide a 30-day money-back guarantee and an 18-month warranty. And yeah, of course, they have a service email address, etc.
Well, starting off with the reasons why you should buy them. Well, let's get price out of the way for sure. Yeah, it's not gonna make a huge hole in your wallet. But you should buy them if you want wireless charging, the latest in Type-C, great battery life on the buds, right? 7.5 hours. I was just thinking, that's a whole work day on just keeping these buds in your ears.
Bluetooth 5.2.
Yeah, latest Bluetooth. Yeah, so connectivity and battery life, great. Also for phone calls, because yeah, we're all at home. If you're gonna be making a lot of phone calls in different environments, at home with, I don't know, a coffee machine in the background, or kids screaming in the background, I think these could hold up quite well. And even if you go for a walk outdoors while you're doing calls, also fine. Wind shouldn't be a problem most of the time. Another added bonus that some of the earbuds miss is the lack of master slave, which is a positive, which means that you can pick up any of the earbuds and use them on its own.
Yeah. So yeah, you can in principle also double battery life like that, because you can have one earbud charging and use the other one while one is dead, which you can't do in the master slave architecture. Another thing you should buy these earphones for, and maybe in the audio section I wasn't very clear, but these are good sounding earbuds. The distortion and the bass, yeah, it's a very small thing. It's a very extreme test that I did. They can get loud, they work well, they connect well, and they sound really good, and they have a nice sound stage. Overall, you can enjoy music. I enjoy music listening to this, and that's really what sound is about. It's not about using your audio to test your equipment. It's about using your equipment to enjoy your audio. And I think these do that very well.
And if you're really enjoying that music and you're immersed in it, they should also be comfortable, which these are. And they come with plenty of other tips that you can play around with to get the perfect fit.
They're waterproof. They're water resistant. And you can use them on workouts. Yeah, they check a lot of boxes.
So they check a lot of boxes for why you should buy them.
Yeah. The only reason I think
we're thinking of the same thing.
Where they kind of don't live up to what they say on paper is
ANC, active noise cancelling.
Yeah.
So don't buy it for ANC. It's so marginal that it shouldn't be driving your purchase decision.
Yes. Or if you even want a good ambient mode, these don't necessarily have that. And I think they need to have that because they don't have a semi-open design like the Jabras and the AirPods Pro. So when you talk with these in your ears, you kind of hear yourself through your skull. That occlusion effect is very pronounced. You can get used to it, of course, but it's not the nicest. But really, I mean, at the end of the day, let's talk about value, right? Like $50 or $60. And you get so much.
I mean, look at the reasons we mentioned for buying them and what we mentioned for not buying them. I mean, that list alone says a lot. ANC multi-device. That's the two reasons that come to mind for me.
Yeah, even the portability. I mean, look at this. This is beautiful. The design is nice. It's not an ugly design.
And there's no app, but that's something to keep in mind. So you can't change the EQ of the earbuds and any other kind of customizability.
I don't think the price really reflects the compromises you're making. I think they're punching way about that $50 price point. What you do need to take into account is, new company, new earbuds, after-sales service. Of course, they've promised stuff, but how long do new companies survive? Hopefully they do, because they're doing a good job. But those are the things you kind of want to take into account. Whereas, I don't know, if you buy a Sennheiser, the company's going to be there. It's been there for 75 years. And then you have an after-sales service network. You can get replacement parts and ear tips and things like that easily. You can send it in for repair. All those things are there.
Yeah, but it reminds me of what you said, right? You buy this for $50. That's 5 times. You can buy 5 of these for the Sennheisers.
True. This is true.
And that hit me. That's like, okay, you really can't go wrong with this.
Yeah. And these are portable things, so you can end up dropping them, losing them.
Yep.
So do you want to spend 270 or 80 on this, or do you want to spend $50 on this?
If you are interested in picking up these earbuds, check those links in the description below.
You've been saving a bunch of money.
And we've been DHRME.
Namaste.
Namaste.